You probably do it thousands of times a day, but have you ever actually stopped to think about it? Every single click, every key you press, it's all part of this invisible conversation you're constantly having with your computer. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain and decode that conversation.
No, really. Think about it for a second. How does this silent box on your desk take a simple mouse click, or even a word you say, and turn it into an action? How does it understand what you want? And maybe even more important, how does it talk back? Figuring this out is really the key to understanding the tech we use every single day.
Okay, so here's the absolute simplest way to wrap your head around this. Just stop thinking about it as some super technical process and start seeing it for what it is, a conversation. You say something, the computer listens, it thinks for a split second, and then it replies. Once you frame it like that, everything else just kind of clicks into place.
All right, so every good conversation has to start somewhere, right? Let's kick things off with your side of it, what we call input. This is how you get the ball rolling. This is you starting the chat and telling the machine what you need. So the fancy official term for the tools you use to talk is an input device. But don't let the jargon scare you. Think of it as any piece of hardware that acts like a bridge, taking what you want to do from your brain and your hands and translating it into a language the computer can actually understand. So what are these tools? Well, they're basically your voice and your actions in this little back and forth. Typing on a keyboard, that's you, speaking word by word. Clicking a mouse, that's like pointing at something and saying, do something with that. Using a microphone is, well, literally using your voice. And a scanner or a webcam, that's like holding up a picture or a document and saying, hey, look at this. These are all the ways you start the conversation.
Okay, but let's be real. It's not much of a conversation if you're just talking to a brick wall, right? The real magic happens when the computer actually responds. And that brings us to the second half of this whole loop, output. This is the machine's reply.
And you guessed it, there's a technical name for this too, an output device. It's the computer's voice, or its text message, or its printed out report. Basically, it's any piece of hardware that takes what the computer has figured out and presents it back to you in a way you can actually see, hear, or hold.
And believe me, the computer can talk back in a whole bunch of different ways. Your monitor is its main voice, showing you visuals and text. Speakers give it an actual audible voice, so you can hear music or notifications. A printer lets it literally hand you a physical copy of the conversation. And a projector? That's the computer basically shouting its response for a whole room to see.
Okay, so we have your side of the conversation, that's input, and we have the computer side, that's output. So now, let's put it all together and see how this whole loop actually works in real time.
Let's take the absolute simplest action you can think of, typing the letter A. You press the key, boom, that's the input. That signal zips over to the computer's brain, which instantly understands what you want. And then, not even a blink of an eye later, the letter A pops up on your screen. That's the output. See? Input, process, output. You spoke, the machine thought, and it answered back. That's the whole shebang, right there.
This chart here lays it all out pretty perfectly. On one side, you have input devices. Their one job is to send data to the computer, things like your keyboard and mouse. And on the other side, you have output devices, and their job is to present results from the computer, like your monitor and speakers. It's the complete picture of our two-way conversation.
Look, if you forget everything else from this, please just remember this one thing. It's really that simple. Input is what you tell the computer, output is what the computer tells you. It's an action and a reaction. It's a conversation. That's all it is.
So we've broken down that fundamental back and forth that we have with our machines every single day. But this conversation, it's always changing, always evolving. So for our final thought, let's kind of look ahead a little bit.
Just think about it. We've already gone from typing commands to clicking icons to touching screens, and now to just talking to our devices. So what comes next? Will we communicate with just a thought, a simple gesture? How is the very nature of this human-computer conversation going to change in the next 10 years? Now that is something to chew on.